Hi, welcome. My name is Tina Ducharme. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am an empathic creative channeler and a divine healing practitioner. I created this channel to show people how the soul contract works, and I'm doing that exclusively through channeling celebrities who have crossed over to the other side. So what I'm doing is showing you how the soul contract diagram works, how it worked out for them on their life's journey. And then I'm bringing forth some messages they want to share with you. And I'll do pick some oracle cards and send you messages that they want to give you because they all want to share their experiences now on the other side, bringing that in to show you how it can help you in your own life. So today I'm going to focus on a gentleman who has been deceased for a while, Johnny Carson. The reason I'm bringing him forward is that he was this, besides being such a great communicator and kind of this low-key comedian type energy, it was really a bridge that I had with my own father because growing up, we didn't have a lot of deep connections in my family. And the one thing I remember was being able to share some very deep and connecting with my dad by he would allow me occasionally to stay up and watch Johnny Carson with him. And even though I probably didn't get a lot of the jokes and things like that, I always loved Johnny Carson show after that. And I always tried to stay up late or sneak to stay up to watch him. So he really played an important part in my life and connecting with my father. And I know in a few weeks it'll be Father's Day here in the US. And so I'm putting together some different people I plan to channel that connected me to my dad. So Johnny Carson was one of those people. So I'm going to share my screen and bring him forward so that you can see his chart. So here is his chart. And he was born John William Carson because the soul contract diagram is based on your birth name. And that's what I believe pulls in the vibrations that you will experience in your life. It's through the birth name converted to the sacred language of Hebrew, which has been converted to numbers. And as you can see, there's a lot of numbers here on his chart. If you're interested in more of learning the basics, I do have an introductory video, pretty short introductory video I did. I'll put that in, I put that always in the link below of these celebrities that I'm doing. So if you want to learn a little bit how I come up with all these numbers and where it's derived, that will help you out. But here I want to just focus on the energies and get right into it because he has a lot of messages he wants to share with everyone. And I want to bring those forth without dragging this out too long. So the first reaction that I have, I'm gonna annotate highlight my cursor here, just kind of makes it easier to see where I'm at on the screen. So the first impression that I got when I looked at Johnny's soul chart is he picked a really, really nicely balanced chart that was full of a lot of expression and creativity. And he, as we all bring in with us, I'm first going to talk about the physical aspects like I always do, because those start out the earliest in our lives and start to flow through as this triangle, as you see, is pointed to the earth plane. And those numbers start pulling in earlier in our life. And as we start to learn our lessons and learn from those and grow as an individual and become higher in our consciousness, then we start pulling in the spiritual triangle here, the spiritual aspects and those numbers. Then the overall aspects that we want to come into play here is through our soul destiny. And that is pretty much the overall perspective of what we came here to learn during this particular incarnation. So to start off, these fives here in Johnny's physical karma, because the karma is your opportunities for growth, and these will run throughout your life. These numbers, all numbers carry positive and negative vibrations. The karmic side, though, will tend to bring in initially a lot. Mostly you'll get negative experiences coming in from these fives. The great thing about this five being in Johnny's physical karma is that it is a lesser strength karmic experience. This is all about Aries energies. This is telling me he was a very super sensitive person. And I think we can understand that because he was a very private person. And he didn't, he did his show, but he was not out in the spotlight. He did not like that. People with fives are very sensitive to others' energies. So they're very particular about, I have these as well in my karma. And it also, you have a hard time being in a lot of crowded areas. It really can suck the energy out of you if you're not careful. And it really means that you need to live in a harmonious environment, that you really need these to clear your space and have your own space to let go of all of those other energies that you've taken on and be able to recharge your own batteries. So I did read that he did struggle in social settings, which once I saw that he had 5 fives, that pretty much told me about his, as he grew up, he would have been very sensitive and struggled that way. They can be very much people pleasers. So we do recommend, assertive courses for people with fives, because it's all about fear of speaking the truth. Usually it starts out as children. We get persecuted for speaking our truth because it just comes so natural to us. And as we know in our culture, sometimes that can be very offensive to people. They don't want to hear the truth. And so then we can get punished for, oh my gosh, why did you say that? Or that's not appropriate. And then we learn to shut down. And so this would kind of come to play out in his life, where he would be kind of pushed to speak his truth. And if he wasn't comfortable with that, which we all know he didn't take very public stands on certain voice his opinions, but that kind of was pulled in from some of the other numbers as well. And then, so the fives we also want to know is we really recommend exercise and gardening and just working and moving in this 3D world that we're living in, because that helps us to release all that energy that we have taken on. And the one thing, so we'll go right into Johnny's threes and his physical talents. And you can see in his physical chart, he only has one set of numbers. I've talked about the double numbers before like this. He only chose one aspect to really focus on. He didn't want this blended energy of a couple of numbers. So he had certain things that he wanted to achieve here. So he just took the 5 in this karma. Then he did have the 3s in his physical talents, which is a super, super strong talent. Obviously, this is the crutch of his, the foundation for him. And this is all about communication and going to the depths. You can see this little labyrinth here. And it's all about us going to the depths to pull out what it is we came here to express. And initially that can be very hard to do because we don't, as we're learning and growing, we sometimes don't even know what we feel. And it's depending on what kind of a childhood we've had or what kind of support we're getting, you know, to whether people really can move into this talent strongly. Because even in a talent aspect, you can get some of the negative tip side of this number. And as I said, the threes is a master number. It's super powerful. So there's no doubt he had strong talents, which is going to overcome anything that he's going to bring in from this physical karmic 5 side. I thought it was very interesting that in the 5s, we talk about assertiveness, and he was in the Navy as a young man, and he went into boxing. He was actually a very good boxer, at least according to what has been said about what he had done in the Navy, and that he did box and he was very successful in that. And that just tells me, the 3s can be a lot on the negative side, can be a lot about violence. And I find boxing to be a pretty violent sport. So I found that very interesting that he did. But because the 5s need to develop that strength and an assertive, especially when it's in a karmic aspect, they really need to find something that brings out that assertiveness. And to me, that was perfect for him, coming across that would make him feel very strong, very assertive, to be able to be successful in the boxing arena. So again, the 3s are all about self-worth, going to the depths, pulling out that communication, being able to express yourself. And 3s are also called a double number, and it's called from poverty to wealth. And it is tied to self-worth. It's not, people with 3s and talents and goals, as he has a lot of 3s here. He's a dominant 3, so this will play out the majority of his life, these 3s. And it's all about not just money, even though that is part of the 3s, is being able to make a lot of money. That isn't all. It's also about your self-worth and knowing your self-worth, because there's a lot of people with 3s in their charts who make a lot of money, but they have very low self-worth. So they have very much, you can see this inner kind of an ugliness, which is derived from a very low self-worth and not valuing themselves. So you can still draw in the abundance, but still not be raising your self-worth. And where I see what Johnny was raising it is that he, on occasion, walked out because his contract did not meet what he believed he was valuing himself. And he was able to get paid more because he was raising in this level of self-worth. And he was able to overcome the karmic of fear of speaking your truth and letting that push him into saying that I think I'm worth this much money. I'm not going to do this job unless I get this much, because I feel the position is worth this much. And he was always won those battles. It was early in his career. Obviously, nobody gets out of the gate. He wasn't an immediate success. He started out in daytime, and that did not go well. It wasn't until he got into this late night talk show hosting that he started to find his groove. And the 6s are all about creativity. It's the convertible knot number, we call it. So it's all about thought, and nothing is built or created without the mind, without the thought. So this gives him this energy of, I've spoke before, when you have a 6 in your goals, this is not 100. He did not come here with 100% free will in this aspect. His soul was pushing him at a deep level to become creative and to exercise these communication gift that he was given. The other thing I want to talk about on these 3s as well is it's all about listening to others. And that's another self-worth issue, is we can become very blocked if we get too much in our own beliefs, that we don't want to hear what other people have to say, because we don't want to hear that they may differ from us, because it will challenge what we believe. And I think he was a great, this is a great leader energy. You could really see how he was really listened to people, and he was very flexible. He didn't, poo-poo anybody who went against things that he believed in. And so this comes to the first message that he had sent to me when I was doing my creative writing, and it says, don't be afraid to get to know people who you think disagree with your perspective, because we tend to want to hang on to beliefs, and beliefs are just, they've always been acquired from someone else or somewhere else. So we always need to be challenging those. And if we're not talking to other people and really being flexible with ourselves as to what we're hearing, it doesn't mean we have to take on other people's beliefs, but it's okay that other people have their own truth and their beliefs, and that somebody who's very secure in themselves that will listen to other people. And one of the things that he did when I was reading about him is when he let his executives schedule his guests. He did not get too attached to who should be coming and what they should be saying. He stayed very detached from that, because at a deep level, he knew it's just best to go with the energy of the audience and the energy of the person that was showing up. It wasn't something, I believe it was something that he learned. You couldn't just write a script. You couldn't, his staff would give him questions, but he didn't always go by the questions on the list. It was a flow. He knew about this flow, ebb and flow, and he learned that. That's part of the threes, the depths of that knowing, being flexible. The negative side, because even though you have it in talents, there were a few negative things I did want to bring out, because threes are also about investments, and he did have some investments that didn't do so well. You know, it's all about making money, but you don't always make money all the time. It's still a learning experience. And I know that he invested in some people. I think DeLorean was one of them that didn't do well. And this actually plays out a little bit. We'll get to this 11-2, which is kind of about this dependency. And then it kind of is taking on a little bit too much, not discerning what you know to be true. So he did have a little bit of that played out too. And not everything was just a gold mine for him. I think he did a clothing line, which did really well for him, and that worked out. And that's part of that creativity, you know, building off of that. But it can also, the sixes are where, because again, every number has this positive and negative side, really where his addiction to smoking came through. The sixes are all about addictions. And we choose that to be able to experience what an addiction is and to be able to overcome it. And he did pass away with complications from emphysema, and that would have been tied to the addiction to smoking. And that was one thing he struggled with. Nobody here, like I always say in these discussions, nobody here, it's, even though he created a lot of success, was very loved, had just wonderful abundance and all these wonderful things in his life, it's not perfect. It's not, there are negative, I mean, this is a duality we live in, and it's always going to be this positive and negative. So it's not a given for anyone, although this is a very powerful chart. It shows up in what he accomplished. And a lot of these charts that are built so strong like this, I mean, these are old souls that are coming through that have learned from past lives. So they really get into the flow of their charts much easier. A younger soul may have a similar chart, and according to what we may think of as success or abundance, they may not achieve the levels of recognition and admiration and awards that somebody like Johnny Carson would. So it's not about that. It's just, again, these numbers represent experiences that you will draw to yourself to learn from, so as you can continue your growth in consciousness. So as we work through these physical numbers in our chart, we start to pull in our spiritual side, and we have the same three aspects we're working on. The karma, once we start learning from the karma, opens up our talents. As we get more into those talents, then we really start to achieve those goals that we came here. And these are things that get us out of bed. They're dreams that we have that have come to us that we want to achieve. And so they give us this great, even though it's a little hidden in the actual thing we came here to accomplish, which is our soul destiny, we do have to have these goals that we're always striving for, to kind of push on these numbers and to get them to play out for us. So let's talk about this spiritual karmic 11-2, and that 11-2 is all about building something. Is the 11 is a builder. The 2 is about emotional resiliency. And when I see 11-2s in a chart, there's a couple things, especially in a karmic aspect, that comes up, and it can be some codependency issues. Maybe those are what he dealt with in some of his marriages, or with people he worked with. And it would come in, play into his life for him to break out of this. 11-2 is also pulls in a double number, and it's the life to death. And this can bring in these cycles in relationships. We know he was married 4 times. Cycles in, it can be in a karmic aspect, it can actually be near-death experiences. It can also be having somebody close to you die. And we know he did lose a son. His son, Ricky, I think, passed away. So, and what that is meant to do, and that's all set up by design when your soul's family, is that is meant to push you to about your perception, and it's really bringing in new levels of awareness, really learning to value life, really learning, these emotionality of it, being able to let go, right? Because when somebody passes to the other side, you have to let them go. You're not going to see them every day. And this, in a karmic aspect, will play out throughout your life to get you to have these experiences, because then it gets you to really start to go deeper into that consciousness and to awaken. It shocks the system, obviously, when you lose people close to you. Even divorce can be considered a death, because it's somebody that's leaving your life, and that can be very shocking to the system. And but the other thing too that this number I talked about is can be a little bit of a codependency. You can take on dysfunctional patterns from others. You can also draw to you people that are energetically damaging in some way. So you have to be careful about your circle of friends when you have this number in a karmic phase, to make sure that these people are also supporting your positive aspects in your life. So this number is also about achievement, and it's about building a business. So again, we're meant in our karmic phases to use our talents, hit our goals, and to come into the positive aspects of this number. And he had the 21-3 in his talents. Again, he has another 3, that great communication number. Talent, just a wonderful talents to have, because obviously communication for success is hugely important. And he did, because of his achievements. The 21 is all about endurance, and this is about lasting. And obviously he was, what was it, 30 years as the host of the late night show. I mean, that's endurance, that's lasting, that's overcoming, that is finding balance in what you are doing. And he wants to mention that he loves so much about what he was doing. And as you can see in his spiritual goals, he has the same number. So it was about finding this creative outlet and finding something that he could really open, endure, and last at through the communication. And for him, he says the goals are all about to mirror the job and the life you love. If you don't like your job and it's draining you, and you really, a lot of us I know just can't leave our job tomorrow. Something I've been personally working on myself, transitioning to more of the spiritual things that I love to do and get away from. I've always been in accounting and get away from the corporate world. So I'm slowly transitioning to this, but this gives me such great love. And he loved what he did, and he knows how important that was for his soul. So even if you can't do it now, it's really important to start working on some things that you have great passion for, that you love doing, and to start freeing yourself up as much as you can of things that weigh you down, so that you can find some of that love and passion in your life, because that is where all this abundance and the flow of life comes to you. Yeah, the other message he had was, get into the flow of your life, let go of old beliefs that are keeping you feeling stuck. So this is the other side, was we start to feel stuck. And sometimes he felt that too, doing the same thing over and over. So he'd create a new character, or you find new opportunities to keep it feeling fresh and fun and alive. So he wants to bring that out as well, getting into the flow of your life. He did a good job of, you could see even when things weren't going well on his show, and we talk about the flow, as he was saying, he would still find a way, either by just pointing out how badly it was going, so, and laughing at himself. He was always really good at being able to turn around something that was not flowing very well. And then he really was very good at feeling that, how to get out of that stuckness of that. And he shows that in a lot of some of his funniest monologues were when he was bombing, and then he just kind of went off on his own and found his own flow. And so I give him a lot of credit. That 21 is all about being inventive and originality. And it also is about respect for freedom. And as I talked about, for other people's ideas of freedom, and freedom also for himself, because as I said, he had walked off and wanted more money, but the executives, he made a lot of jokes about the executives, because they were really in this, they wanted to make money off of people like Johnny, and he was well aware of that. Again, be careful of that. He was learning about this, not being too dependent, right? That, because they would just have worked him to death, and they would complain about how much vacation he was taking, and then he would up the vacation in his contract the next year. He's like, oh, I want more freedom. What are you guys talking about? Because it's very important for us to have some personal freedom and not be chained to something, because that's where that stuckness and the feelings of this heaviness come in, is when we feel we're being forced to do this repetitive thing over and over again. Even though it brought him great joy, you still have to have some creative power and control in that. If somebody else is pulling the strings, they can suck the life out of you or try to control you too much, right? Putting in how they think it should be. So the 21 as well can draw in early on in life. It can be, hardship. I don't think he was he wasn't raised wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. So it can be, there may have been, didn't talk a lot about his growing up and his parents, but I get a sense that there was some hardship. His parents were very humble people, and I get a sense that there probably was a little bit of hardship growing up for him. And then the goals here in this spiritual aspect is really him becoming a powerful teacher. And what that means is, by acquiring all of this knowledge of the truth of who he was and sharing that. And what he did is he built this platform and he shared it with others. And he was responsible for so many people, for elevating their careers, for helping them with their careers. And that was really part of what this goal was all about. Being able to share what he had learned and providing that platform to others. This in the goal aspect is about, it will expand your goals as an outlet and build it to, again, the 21 is about expansion and balance. and the communication, and it's about affecting more and more and more people. And I think you can see how that played out for him. He was able to affect so many people, credit their careers, David Letterman, Robin Williams, Steve Martin, Joan Rivers. I do plan to do Joan Rivers' soul chart because they had kind of this karmic thing going on that played out. And that was definitely, I believe, meant by design. And he had not acknowledged that because that was somebody he supported. But then again, when she went on her own, she actually competed with him, called him though to let him know she was going to do her own talk show, but it was in a competitive time slot as he was, and that upset him greatly that she would compete with him after he felt what he did for her. And that can be, these threes can kind of be a little bit of it wasn't that he wanted to keep her down, but he was feeling that was very disrespectful for that he helped her with her career, but he, again, the threes in a negative form can also be not acknowledging her gifts that she brought to the table, that she helped with the show when he was on vacation, that people really liked her and watched her. So there was a little bit playing out there between him, and he never spoke to her after that. He was very, very angry. There's a lot of anger can come from the sixes and frustration. Again, this is all about people being who they are. But was this somebody who he had became dependent on, because she was one of his, I think, one of the longtime co-hosts, when he was on vacation, she would host for him. So was this somebody who was, I just think it was something they were to learn from each other, maybe a little bit more of the unconditional love, because I want to talk about this 13-4 for Johnny in his soul destiny. And this is all about unity consciousness. We call these Christ consciousness energies. And he came here to show unity. And I believe when we talk about this energy, he wasn't particular about who came on his show. In fact, he actually had just normal people, from not just celebrities, come on his show. This was all about everybody. He didn't pick a side politically. He did not show any racial bias, whether he had that or not. He was open to everyone coming on his show. There was he never showed signs of to me to be biased. And this is all about this number. Really, this was what he was pushing through. This is a very mothering, nurturing energy. Now, early in his life, it can start off about the opposite of that. So it can be very neglectful of others. It can be very selfish energy. When you're coming from a perspective of closed-heartedness, I would be very fascinated to know more about his relationship with his mother, because this can be kind of a mothering wound. He might have had a mother who was very kind of closed-hearted, and maybe that was something that was how she was raised. So, but this is all about opening that heart and healing it. So this is about healing the heart, but about showing this great unity consciousness. And this is what he came here to accomplish at a soul level. And I believe that really shows in his life's work with his show, and how many people that he touched, and that he did not try to force his beliefs on anyone. This is all also part of unity consciousness. That is, so again, it was expanded to a great number of people. The 13, again, is of that very feminine, divine, feminine energy. And the 4 is all about trust in the flow of abundance. And, it can be barren to fruitful. So he started off, things weren't quite as successful, but as he learned to trust in himself, as soon as he activated these, 3s are such a powerful number, strong number to have for your communication. obviously people write about him and say, you know, how great of a person that he was, that he even would contact them after the show. And if they were struggling, he was exhibiting a lot of this Christ consciousness and just great love for everybody, not excluding people because they didn't believe what he believed. So that was Johnny Carson. And I think that is, I thought he did a great job with his soul contract, and probably one of the best ones. You know, probably one of the weakest links. I'm not sure that he had a great relationship with his children, but I think as you learn and you become wiser through this life to death cycles, you become a better parent. And I would imagine that he did become a better parent, a more loving parent. He got more emotional as he got older. You can kind of see that in a lot of his shows. And he got more expressive. He had these great expressions. So you can kind of see how he grew as a person. And that's what being here is all about. It's just growing. None of this starts off perfectly. It may not end what we would consider perfectly. These are just vibrations that you chose, negative or positive, and how you decided to work through them. I want to touch on the threes before we get into more of the messages. I have another message from him, and then I want to pull a few more cards as well. The other thing that I want to talk about is that dominant 3, which was it's a master number. It's a master teacher number. He came here to teach a lot of people, and I believe he did that. He also, the 3s, we get a direct message from Source, God, or the Great Spirit, by the fact that he did have a dominant 3. And I want to read that for you. Actually, the first time I read it, I almost started to cry because I have 3s too. So maybe, and I have a 21-3 in my chart. It really struck a nerve for me, but I want to read this to you. And so what it says for people who have dominant 3s, this is directly from Source. As you go forth, my beloved child, I will guide you and lead you. All you have to do is keep in tune with me. I will project into your mind thoughts, and that will guide you and help you along the way. We are now 3 in 1, spirit, physical body, and your constant communication with your higher self and Source. You now have love, power, strength, and intuition. I instruct you to go forth as my emissary and express truths I have given you. Oh, I still get emotional when I read it, because I think he was living this really deep truth, and it was really coming out loud and clear. So I'm very appreciative of Johnny Carson. Like I said, it was a deep connection that I was able to garner with my own father by sharing those times when he would let me stay up and watch Johnny Carson with him, because he loved Johnny Carson. So the other message that I had done through the creative writing was learn to laugh at life, see the humor in the most mundane. He really was all about laughing at life, making people laugh. It's so healing. I'm going to go back now, stop sharing my screen, and I want to pull a few oracle cards for everybody so that we can see what else is going to come through from Johnny. I love his energy. He, you know, when he was coming in, I kept, for the last few weeks when I knew I was going to do a reading on him, I started to get the energy that's coming through, and I could smell cigarette smoke a lot. Like when I would go outside, sometimes during the night I would wake up and I'm like, where is this coming from? At first it took me a while to connect to him. It was, you know, sometimes we all have the ability to connect with loved ones from the other side or celebrities. This isn't a special gift that I have. Everybody has the same ability. You just have to be open to it. And I finally realized that was him coming through, because I knew he was a heavy smoker. I knew he had died of emphysema. And sometimes they'll come through as, and my own mother passed away from lung cancer. So I'm very sensitive about smoking. I don't care for it. I have some very strong beliefs about that. And it's funny how that's kind of that jokester in him. So he was coming through because I'm out on my patio and I can smell it. I'm like, who is smoking out here? You know, why would you be outside and trying to get some fresh air? And so I'm really laughing because he is still that jokester spirit. And it really makes me laugh to think about that he was coming through in that way. So the first thing I do want to do is I love the fact that he had all these wonderful animals, right? That he would have on a show. That was my favorite part because I loved animals, and he just was so funny with the animals. And so I have the Spirit Animals Oracle from Colette Baron-Reid. And so we're going to put, oh, this one wanted to come out. Oh, and so this is 37. It is the Lion Spirit. Be generous of spirit. My camera isn't the best on this computer. I do have a MacBook Pro. I'm going to start, I think, using that because I think the camera focuses a little bit better. It's number 37. 37 adds up to 10. And 10 is a cycle number. It's that usually can be the end of a cycle or the beginning of a new cycle. So Lion Spirit, that really to me speaks a lot about who Johnny Carson was, and what he wants to relate to us is to be generous of spirit. And so let's see what else this message will tell us he wants to convey. A healthy ego means you ease God's order instead of edging God out. So ego, E-G-O. Ease God's order or edging God out. I heard that from James Van Prague the first time when he said, ego is edging God out. So Lion Spirit appearance is a reminder that you have been given the gift of pride and a healthy sense of your worth to express your divine, authentic self in a unique way. You are both the king and the queen, secure in your prosperity and wisdom and generous of spirit as you help others. Take pride in your ability to serve from the heart. Contentment with what you have right now allows you to use your resources wisely as you give to others in ways that educate, heal, inspire, and delight. Be proud yet humble. Practice gratitude, and you will find that the accolades that come to you are no match for the joy of knowing what you have been able to do for others through expressing the bounty of generosity within you. Lion Spirit knows there is a great savanna before you and many who will benefit from the healthy expression of your unique set of gifts if you choose to work in partnership with Spirit. All your relationships flourish as you express your worth and generosity of spirit with humility and kindness. What a blessing you can be to all. What a great message. And I think right now we can use messages from Johnny because everybody gets wrapped up right now in wanting to express what side of the fence you are on, you know, this politically diverse, you know, especially in the US, and it's everywhere right now. There's a lot of this divisiveness instead of listening, taking that time to just listen to each other without judging, that's being generous of spirit. It's not always trying to speak louder than the next so that you can be heard over everyone else. Just listening. We have so much more in common than we do not in common, and be careful of that. What he wants to say is that dependency, that where are you getting your information? What are you becoming dependent on? And is that dependency on what information you're getting really allowing you to be grateful, happy? If it's not serving you in a positive way, cut it out of your life. This is a great time to do that. we're in a Mercury retrograde. Start reflecting on that. So the next one I am going to is work your light. So we all need to be working our light here. So for Rebecca Campbell, let's see another message from Johnny, please. He would like to share. Ooh. Imrama, where are you being called to journey to? Apparently, a lot of people in this time period, I believe, are being called in a new direction. I keep hearing that through all of the intuitive energy people that I'm listening to, whether it's Lee Harris, Amanda Ellis. These people are talking about this new energy, and we need to definitely start to figure out time to reflect and then start something new. So where are you being called to journey to? I love this card. It's got all these soft pastel colors. It's somebody who's standing there looking. There's this castle off to the distance, and they're kind of looking down. So I want to go in a little deeper in this, if you don't mind, because I'm curious. I've never heard of the Imrama before. So let me find that. The Celtic word Imrama means a journey of the soul, a voyage on which we don't know where we are going, but our soul knows the way. If you pulled this card, you are either being called on a soul journey or are already on one. It could be to a physical ancient place or metaphoric. When we journey to places that our soul remembers, a shift takes place both within us and to the planet as well. You are being called to journey to a place that is sacred to your soul. Perhaps it is to a journey to the world's sacred sites, or called to cross the country, climb a mountain, lie on the desert floor, or drink from an ancient well. There are places to see and old friends to meet. I see spontaneous pilgrimages in your future. So many of you are looking at starting to expand those horizons, moving on, moving to try new things. Please continue. This is, he's giving you the go ahead to start to be spontaneous in that way. If a physical voyage isn't possible, journey through the portal of your heart, follow the invisible soul trail, and be willing to explore. Maybe read a book or watch a movie about a sacred time or place. Whatever you're drawn to, it will show you the way. Or perhaps you are being called to study an ancient lineage or body of work. Whatever your circumstances, your soul is ready to journey deep. La la la. That's almost scary, isn't it? We like to stay in our little safe zones. Oh, I'm so safe here where I am in my little house. Don't get me out there. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid again. So we're going to ask Johnny for some of his most deepest wisdom. What you got for us? And I'm hearing, just laugh, keep laughing. You get the cosmic joke of this whole thing, you're going to be so much better off. Oh, I've got 24. Time for a nap. I love that number 24. That's kind of been a number I see a lot in my life. But 24 adds up to 6, which is really about balance, love, and harmony. So time for a nap. Well, we're in retrograde season, so maybe it's time for a timeout of some sort. So let's see what else we've got here. Rest, rejuvenation, and renewal. Temporary non-action, allowing dreams to arise. So again, time to reflect, rejuvenate yourself. So be kind to yourself, do some healing, get some massage, go for a walk, play with your grandchildren. Mine are coming over here a little later today, and we're going to plant some flowers and, go get some games to play. I'm so excited. This is a time to step away and rest. Let the cares of your world go. Go into a state of non-action and allow yourself to be free of the shackles of your goals, your list, your desires. Nothing is as important as rest, detachment, which we talked about earlier when Johnny got detached to those outcomes. He didn't try to over control those sessions with his guests. Detachment, very critical. And neutrality, be neutral, be Switzerland. Quit feeling like we have to take a side. We can be neutral. That doesn't mean that we support harm to others or excessive negativity, but allowing people to voice their opinions is very, very important. The overly busy mind can block you from inner wisdom. If you don't step back, take a seat and rest. Be willing to let dreams surface and ideas flow through you, absent any force or conscious direction as you observe without engagement now. Time for nap, people. Okay, so I'm going to do two more. This one from the Sacred Destiny Oracle. This is going to be maybe, what is he saying here? Some of your challenges you might be having. Oh, this one wants to pop out here. So abundance. So if you're having challenges with abundance, know that that is temporary. Let's see what we've got here. Wildflowers are not intentionally planted. They are untamed, natural, and free. Their fragrance calls bees to pollinate them so that the seeds are created to continue the cycle of life. These kinds of natural flowers don't try to be profuse and beautiful. They just are, without struggle or worry. They're abundant without effort. Prosperity is your birthright. And the grand profusion of a field of untamed flowers reminds you that a windfall is coming. It's simply a matter of aligning your vibration and frequency with that which you desire to manifest. The sacred landscape wants you to know everything is blossoming in life. Open yourself to receive. Abundance, fulfillment, and prosperity are ready to be activated in your life. Life desires you to prosper. You are moving towards an outpouring of money, energy, time, or love. Opportunities are limitless. However, you must take action in the direction of your dreams, baby steps, anything, any little steps so that you can get the next sign to go to the next step. It will unfold. Trust that it will unfold. I have always had this tendency to be, oh, well, what if that's the wrong thing? I wouldn't even make a move because I'd be like, oh, I don't know if that feels right. Instead of just making a move and trusting, because it will tell you by making that one move and then another how you should keep moving in a direction, and it will move you, it'll push you on your path. So just trust that action can be very important. Don't wait for abundance to fall into your lap. Take steps. Give deeply and fully, don't hold back. This card reveals that this is a great time to make investments. The more you give with a free and open heart, the more you will receive. Be grateful for what you already have, and even more will flow to you. That is the best message that Johnny could share with all of us. He always was grateful. He always talked about how he couldn't imagine doing anything than what he was doing, that he found so much joy in what he was doing, and that gratitude will attract more to you. It's a law of attraction, and that's how it works. So gratitude, keep a gratitude journal. I just heard, if you even just write down a few things nightly or a few things in the morning to get you set up for that gratitude before you get hammered with distractions and things like that. I love this. Flowers are so beautiful. And so the last one that I always like to do is from the the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery. Oops, I had one fall out already. Mastery deck from Amanda Ellis, a color therapist. She's great channeling and great, reads the energy well, what the collective needs to hear. So we have number 35, which is the Kundalini energy. It's untapped energy. See that card? And that energy is all within us. And so Kundalini energy is really working with our energy bodies to get into an untapped source, to unblock that creativity, and which Johnny had to do. He had 6s, he had 5s. Those could be very blocking energies. The 21 can also be very blocking. Let's see what Archangel Metatron has to say. In 35, it adds up to an 8, which is really manifestation. So think about the amount of untapped, unused energy at your disposal. Life is busy, and you may be time poor. Sometimes you feel particularly weary, yet you are encouraged to go within and realize the huge well of energy available to you to help support your path to enlightenment. It is there in your earthly vessel, the human body in which your eternal soul dwells. Like a burning furnace within you, the Kundalini fire energy depicted on this card needs tending and stoking. A fire that is forgotten will emit a quiet heat, but no real flames of passion or electrical current to awaken all that is available as raw primal energy, drive, and insight. Become aware of the coiled serpent at your base chakra. This part of you is just as real as anything else. Make friends with it, be at peace with its presence, and realize that within its coils, which wish to unfold upward, there is raw power and divine essence that is yours and yours alone. Use it to ignite passion, to inspire ideas, or to receive spiritual truths. But first allow it to flow up your spine, warming each part with its light and color and energy. Tuning in now, ask yourself if you are aware of this vast energy reservoir within you. Tuning in now, ask yourself, sorry, I almost repeated myself. Maybe I was meant to repeat it, so we'll repeat it one more time. Ask yourself, are you aware of this vast energy reservoir within you? You can awaken it gently and train it via many practices: meditation, yoga, movement, dance. Put on some music that you love and dance. Clean the house. Plant some flowers, play the music, sing a song. I love to watch Sound of Music and sing those darn songs. It just makes me feel so darn good. Or David Bowie, or, anything that uplifts you and that gets you in the right mood. It really gets that energy flowing. You can awaken it gently and train it via many practices. Maybe you wish to start an activity now. A fifth dimensional frequency will also naturally start to stir it and will give you innate understanding of its location and any blocks as a Kundalini arises within you. Ask Metatron to guide this process. Take time. There is no rush. It is time for it to now awaken within you and for you to start to read and meditate on its presence within you. So much Kundalini teaching has focused on the chakras, and these are hugely important in understanding your holistic self. But the next step is sensing this bliss-like energy as it curls up your spine and back, releasing and purifying, and being able to take you to higher states of consciousness than you had previously thought possible. An awakened, upgraded chakra system results too when you do this. Look at the image on this card and absorb its colors and energies. I'm going to hold that up for you guys. Let it show you the state of your own Kundalini energy, dormant, awake, or half awake. There is no judgment and no right or wrong way for it to be. It is part of you. Integrate it and own it. It is there to help your spiritual path by igniting fire, color, and light within you, to help you see, feel, hear, and taste with kaleidoscope senses. What an extraordinary hidden asset. Let Metatron unveil it for you at the right time and in the right manner. A truly awakened spirit awaits. Use that energy. It is so wonderful when you can tap into that. There's many meditations online you can do for the chakras. And if you're feeling particularly blocked, just ask your body, it will tell you. So with that, I want to thank Johnny for spending his energy coming in and awakening that great love that I had with my dad, who has crossed over to the other side as well. And I just, got such great pleasure out of experiencing his energy and going through his chart. That was so much fun for me, especially because I had a lot of the same numbers as he did. I was like, oh, I like that. So that was kind of cool to see. So I thank him. He wants to thank all of you for being here, all of those who still watch his show and still enjoy what he had to offer when he was here physically. But he has so much to offer in a spiritual capacity, and you can call on anyone who has crossed over. They will show up for you, I promise you. It's not linear or duality like it is here. They will send you messages if you're open to asking for them. So if you can, sorry, I got a visitor, so I'm going to end this. Check out my website below. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Love you. Bye-bye.